Okay, so today we're going to look at linear equation word problems. And the first type we're going to look at is slope-intercept. And when you write an equation in slope, a linear equation in slope-intercept form, it looks like this: y equals mx plus b. And so let's talk about what each of those variables represents in this equation. So let's look at b. B is usually the start, right? It's the starting if it's a time or something, or it's the initial like cost or fee. And it's usually a one-time fee. So that's what B is for a word problem. M is a rate usually. And you'll often see the word per in the word problem. That kind of tips you off that there's a rate there. Y is usually the total of whatever you're doing. That comes out to be the rate plus whatever the starting time is. This is the total. And X is usually the number of whatever hours, or it's either a time thing or whatever, but it's like it's how many of the things you need for the rate. So that's what the different variables in this equation typically represent in a word problem. So let's do some word problems and look at what's going on in these and see if we can come up with some answers. So number one, Evan is going to the county fair this weekend. The admission to the fair is $5. That's important, right? The cost per ride is 50 cents. And they're asking if his parents give him $20. They want to know, and I'm going to underline what they want to know. How many rides can he go on? That's what you're trying to figure out. So they gave you three pieces of information and they want to know something about it. So we're going to come up with our slope-intercept form equation for this problem. So if I know the admission to the fair is $5, that's kind of like that initial fee, that one-time cost. So this is going to be my B, right? And then if I look at cost per ride, right, that per is tipping me off, that this is going to be my M. So B is going to be equal to 5, and M, because it's 50 cents, is 0.50. So the linear equation for this situation is y equals, and my slope is 0.5 x, right, plus 5, that's my B. So there's my equation. So now we want to figure out if his parents give him $20, right, solve an equation to find out how many rides he can go on. So what's y and what's x? Well, his parents gave him $20. That's kind of like the total amount that we're going to use. So that's the y. And then how many rides? That's the rate, like the number of things that you're doing with this rate of 50 cents. That's the x. So I can substitute in my 20 for y and solve this equation. So I'm going to do that right here. 20 equals 0.5x plus 5. So now I have one variable to solve for. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides to get x alone. That's my starting to get x alone. 20 minus 5 is 15. I get 0.5x over here. This is 0. I got rid of it. Then I'm going to divide both sides by that number in front of x. And when I divide 15 by 0.5, I get 30. And what does that mean? So that means Evan can go on 30 rides for $20, right? So that is the ultimate answer to the question of how many rides. So let's look at the next one. What I'll say though is what you can do, I am just going to go through these. What you can do is stop and you can try it yourself. And then you can look and see how you did compared to what I end up doing. So that would probably be the best way to approach these as we move on. So I'm going to go through this one next. While visiting Crimson Lake, Sally decided to go kayaking. The rangers charge $8.50 per hour, so that's an important number to know. In addition to a $25 deposit to rent the kayak, that's important. If she rented the kayak from 11:30 until 2:30, write and solve a linear equation to find the total cost to rent the kayak. So that's what we're trying to figure out, the total cost to rent the kayak. That's our ultimate answer we're trying to get. So I'm going to look at this data in this question. $8.50 per hour. Well, I think that's going to be my slope. That's my rate, right? $8.50 per hour. I'm paying $25 to rent the kayak, a flat fee, a starting cost, where before I do anything, I have to pay $25. That's my B. And then if you rented the kayak, if you rented the kayak from 11:30 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. So how many hours is that? Well, 11:30 to 12:30 is 1, 12:30 to 1:30 is 2, 1:30 to 2:30 is 3, and 2:30 to, oh, I don't go any further than that, so it's 3. So 3 hours. I thought it was further. So 3 hours is the time, the amount of time that she rented the kayak, and they want you to find out the total cost. So I have an M and a B, so I can actually put this here. So I have B is 25, M is 850, right? So it's 8.5. So my equation is Y equals 8.5x plus 25. So the total's what I don't know. That's the why. And they told me how many hours. Remember, the rate is like how many hours, how much time. So they told me how many hours. So my x is equal to 3. So now I'm going to figure out the total cost to rent the kayak by now using this for the equation. So I don't know y. So y is going to stay a variable. Move that up a little. Y is going to stay a variable. I have 8.5 for the rate times 3, right? Because I know x is equal to 3 plus 25. So for this one, I just have to do a whole bunch of math, and I am going to end up with y equals, and it's going to be a dollar amount, $50.50. So what is the total cost to rent the kayak? $50.50. So that's my answer. The total cost to rent the kayak is $50.50. For the next problem, we should go through this together. I wouldn't try to do this on your own. It's a little complicated, but let's read it over. It says Alex bought a new truck for $42,935, right? So that's an amount we're going to be looking at. According to the dealer, the truck will depreciate $4,200 per year. So that's another important thing to know. And we want to write and solve a linear equation to find how many years until the truck is worth 5135. So we're trying to figure out how many years until this happens. That's what we're missing. So we got to figure out our M and our B and go from there. So when I look at this, I do right away know that this per year tips me off that this is a rate and this is going to be M. But one thing that's important to note about this is it's going to depreciate. And when something depreciates, it goes down. So this is really going to be a minus 4,200. So M is going to be minus 4,200 for that rate. For B, what's B? B is usually the starting point. Well, the truck cost 42, when it was new, it was 42,935. So this is going to be our B. B is equal to 42,935. Okay, so we got our M and our B. So I'm going to write my equation. Y equals minus 4,200x plus 42,935. So next up, I got to figure out my x and my y. So years, that's the rate. That's the number of something, the year. So that's going to be x. And y is going to be the total. It's going to be what this car is worth after it depreciates for these number of years. So when I go to write my equation, I know y is equal to 5135. So I can set up my equation to be 5135 instead of y equals negative 4200x plus 42935, the starting price of the truck. So I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 42,935 from both sides. And when I do that, I am going to get minus $37,800 equals negative 4,200x. And remember, this became 0, so it goes away. And when I divide both sides by negative 4,200, what happens is the negative divided by the negative makes a positive. And in my calculator, when I type this in, I am going to get 9 for x. So it's going to take 9 years, right? So that's the answer. It will take 9 years until the truck is worth, what is it, $51,35. right? So that is the answer to that question, 9 years. So let's look at the next one. The next one you might want to try on your own. You can pause it, try it, and then I'm going to go over it myself. So if we read it, if you buy a car wash at the gas station for $6, so the car wash is $6, the cost per gallon is $2.35. If you have $40, write and solve a linear equation to find the number of gallons of gas you can afford. So if you buy a car wash at the gas station for $6, the cost per gallon is $2.35. If you have $40, write and solve a linear equation to figure out the number of gallons of gas that you can afford. So this is kind of a weird question, but we'll try to label everything out. We know that M is going to be $2.35. That's the cost per gallon, right? We know that we have $40. That's the total. The $6 is kind of like that initial cost that you have to spend. So this is going to be the B. This is what you have to spend to get this great deal of $2.35 per gallon. So that's the initial fee. And then if we look, we know that Y is how much you have total. And then we're trying to figure out what the number of gallons of gas you can afford. So that is going to be X. And we kind of get tipped off because it's cost per gallon. So that X is usually goes with the slope. So we're going to come over here. M is 235. B is 6 for that $6. So my equation is Y equals 2.35x plus 6. To actually solve this equation, I know I have $40 to start with. That's my total. So for $40, that's Y. I know Y is 40 from over here on the problem. 2.35x plus 6. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. To solve for this, I get 34 equals 2.35x. I divide both sides by 2.35, and I end up with 14.47 equals X. So the number of gallons you can afford 14.47 gallons, right? That's how much you can afford. So that is the answer to that question. So these 4 questions we just kind of went over together. We talked about how these are set up. The next page is going to be some y equals mx plus b problems, some extra problems. So I will do these as well, but like I said, if you want to pause, try them, and then just see what I do to make sure that you got them correct, that would be a good approach for these. So let's look at this first one. A music app charges $2 to download the app, so it's $2 charge, right? Plus $1.29 per song downloaded. Write and solve a linear equation to find the total cost to download 30 songs. So what's what in this equation? So M, we have that per, we know it's going to be 1.29 for M, so M is 1.29. B, they charge you $2 a flat rate for the app, so we know B is going to be 2. So this equation is going to be Y equals 1.29x plus 2. And then X and Y. Well, you're trying to figure out, what are they asking you to figure out? Write and solve a linear equation to find the total cost. So that's a tip-off. Total is Y, and then X is songs. Remember, the slope is, the M is per song, so X goes with the slope, so songs, X is 30. So now you can plug in 30 for X to solve. So Y equals 1.29, and then you're going to have 30 for X plus 2. If you do all this math out, you get $40.70. So your answer to this question is the total cost is $40.70. Okay, so Carly has already written 35 pages of a novel. Again, you can try this on your own first, but I'll do it too. Carly has already written 35 pages of a novel. She plans to write 12 additional pages per month until she's finished. Write and solve a linear equation to find the total number of pages written at 5 months. So we're trying to figure out total number of pages after 5 months. So what's M and what's B? Well, here's a tip off to M. We've got the per, so we know M is going to be 12. What's B? Well, she started with 35 pages, right? That's what she started with. So we know that the B is going to be 35. So I can actually write my equation y equals 12x plus 35. Now we're going to look and see x and y. Well, total number of pages is going to be y, and 5 months is your x, because that goes with the rate per month. So when I go to substitute, I'm going to do y equals, I'm trying to find that total, 12 times 5 for x plus 35. And when I do that math out, I get 95 pages. So she wrote 95 pages. At 5 months. Great. Okay, I will do the next one, but you can do it on your own first to see how you do. The late fee for library books is $2 plus 15 cents each day for a book that is late. If Maria's fee for a late book was $3.20, write and solve a linear equation to find how many days late the book was. So we're trying to figure out how many days late this thing was. So let's try to figure out M and B first. So late fee for library books is $2 plus $15 each day. Well, each and per are very similar. So M is this 15 cents. So M is 0.15. That's what 15 cents looks like. And then it's $2. It's like a flat rate of $2. So B is $2. So that's going to be a 2. So I can write my linear equation. Y equals 0.15x plus 2. Well, what's x, what's y? Well, if her fee for the late book was $3.20, this is her total fee, right? That's going to be y. And then they want you to figure out how many days. And remember, it's per day, so x is going to be the number of days. So we're going to be solving for x here. We know that y is 3.2. So I'm going to set it up. 3.2 equals 0.15x plus 2. I want to solve for x, so I got to get rid of this 2 first. 3.2 minus 2 is 1.2 equals 0.15x. This went away. I divide both sides by 0.15. 1.2 divided by 0.15 is 8. So how many days late? 8. The book was 8 days late. Okay, for this next problem, I just want to point out that the next two problems have negative slopes, and let me explain what I mean by that. For this one here, when you look at the slope part, 12 pounds of food per day, they're eating this, they're eating it, they're consuming it, so that means it's going to be negative. When you look at number 5, the rate is 2,100 feet per minute. They're descending. Descending means you're going down. So it's important to note that both of these problems have a negative slope before you try them on your own, because it can be confusing. But if you want to pause and try them, go ahead. But if not, I'm about to do them. So number 4, a group of mountain climbers begin an expedition with 250 pounds of food. They plan to eat a total of 12 pounds of food per day. Write and solve a linear equation to find the number of days their food will last. So the number of days is what you're trying to figure out. So let's see if we can figure out our equation, our slope-intercept form equation. So M, we know that they're going to eat, and eat means it's going to go away, right? They're going to lose this food, so it's going to be a minus 12 pounds of food per day. So minus 12 is going to be the M value. B, they started out with 250 pounds of food, right? That's what they began with. So this equation will be y equals minus 12x plus 250. So what's x, what's y? Well, number of days is going to be x because we know that it's per day that they eat the food, but we don't know why, but they're going to eat all of their food, right? So they want to see how long the food's going to last. So it's going to be all gone. So y is actually going to be 0 at the end of this equation. So when you go to solve, you're going to put in a 0 for y and then fill in the rest of your slope-intercept equation. So now I can solve this, get y alone by subtracting 250 from both sides. 0 minus 250 is minus 250, minus 12x. This became 0. So divide both sides by minus 12. Negative 250 divided by minus 12, x equals 20.833333 days. So that's how many days their food will last. 20.83 days. So 20 full days, but not more than that. The next question, you can try it, but I'll go over it too. An airplane at 30,100 feet above the ground begins descending at the rate of 2,150 feet per minute. Write and solve a linear equation to find out how many minutes it will take the plane to reach the ground. So how many minutes is what we're figuring out, right? So let's find our M and our B. So 30,100 feet above the ground, that's the starting point of this airplane, right? That's where it started. It descended at 2,150 feet, and that's a minus, right? Descending means minus. So M is going to be minus 2,150, and B is going to be 30,100. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 2,150 plus 3,100. And then when I look at my x and my y, well, how many minutes? Since it's descending at 2,150 feet per minute, x is going to be what I'm figuring out. But y, what is y? When it gets to the ground, how many feet is it when it actually lands on the ground? That's 0, right? It's at 0 feet when you get to the ground. So you're going to plug that in. 0 equals, oops, got my x here, equals negative 2,150x plus 3,100. You're going to subtract that from both sides to start to get x by itself. So this is minus 3,100 equals negative 2,150x. This went away. I divide both sides by minus 2,150. Negative divided by negative is positive. When I divide those two, it's 14. So 14 minutes. It will take 14 minutes to reach the ground. So those are some examples of linear equations in slope-intercept form.